So far, we have described basic cultural mathematics. 1,000 flowers blooming means that there is also a meadow. 1,000 plateaus can only be found
I'm sorry to interrupt this meaningless presentation. I have come here today on behalf of Wage, which acts as an artist advocacy group based in New York. They were invited to participate in No Soul for Sale. They declined. Why did they decline? Well, on behalf of Wage, I'm here to tell you. And I'm here to tell you things that you probably already know. I'm here to talk about the unspoken, illegal and exploitative practices carried out on every level in every art institution. What kind of willpower must you have to remain an artist in this city? What kind of crazy determination and resolve? Some of you may be artists. And let's just draw a line in the sand here. Let's air some home truths. Wage wants to make it very clear to you that institutions, the Tate included, regularly do not pay artists' fees, if at all. This is what we're faced with. Institutions who spend enormous amounts of cold hard cash on buying work for their collections and selling works to one another, rarely spending even a penny of this budget to sustain artists who may be at the beginning of their careers. Institutions who buy multi-million-pound properties and spend similar on extensions and renovations but won't pay artists' fees or even cover material costs of work. And do you want to know what this looks like, guys? This looks like No Soul for Sale. In Canada, Jack Chambers advocated that it was absurd to exclude artists from payment for their work and the reproduction of it within an economic climate where it's socially acknowledged that payment is granted for services rendered. Wage wanted me to pass on the following message. Museum directors, curators, advisors, board members, you must rectify this situation and return to an accountable, fair and structured economic playing field with the artists you work with. You must allocate artists' fees for all artists with whom you work in your annual institutional budgets. And artists, you must be brave advocates for your trade. Opt out of the illegal, unethical scheme being forced upon you. Thank you.
Please excuse us, we were interrupted by an act of dissent. In fact, we asked to be interrupted so as to remain in control of our subject matter. In real life, dissent does not come in so handy. There exist many instances of what we have defined as subculture that do not seek to dissent from the normative cultural consensus. They are happy to be placed and staged within it as any of the artworks in these magnificent galleries. And if there is any dirty laundry to be washed, it can be done discreetly backstage.
However, in certain instances, these diplomatic relations between culture and subcultures may be interrupted. They break down. Countercultures emerge, sometimes even exploding in a volcanic eruption of dissent. We have just witnessed the importance of economic pressure as a potential catalyst for such calamities. When it comes to independent art spaces, often operating within voracious urban contexts, the economic pressures may multiply manifold. A gallery simply fighting for a room of its own may quickly find itself advancing into an oppositional stance against the wider system of gentrification.
Even so, the majority of art spaces we have surveyed are not driven to dissent by economics. Rather, they are reacting against the totalizing nature of a dominant culture. Where the soul of the artist feels so strongly the corruption, injustice and ugliness of society, it will not be stroked into silence by well-meaning cultural programs. Other artists find they cannot tolerate the banality of reducing individuality and intimacy to consumer choices. Nor do they accept to be handled as just one more exotic species in this zoo of cultural diversity. Somehow they must modulate or indeed confront the dominant cultural logic.
Because dissent refuses to take the dominant culture at face value, because it cannot be reconciled with accepted forms of participation, it is challenged to experiment with other forms of representation, communication, and participation. Many times, this also means assembling a new constituency or building a new audience from scratch. That is why surveying the independent art spaces in this fair and visiting their websites, we find new open source communication, media and technologies playing a central part in enabling dissent. Optionally, they may be augmented by team and identity building strategies, information and collaboration competences, as often found in the corporate world.
Artists' creative problem-solving skills are another useful asset. Be it attention-catching videos, public performances, or simple posters, artistic media play an important role in constituting, branding, and promoting countercultural efforts. Territorial guerrilla tactics and urbanistic interventions also deserve mention. For example, whilst we are here speaking from the official podium generously provided by Tate Modern, a different band of arts activists at Queen Mary University is staging what is called a counter-mapping process. They are remapping the university campus as a place of work and study by focusing on the ways in which migration, border technologies, surveillance and monetary flows intersect with the institutional and architectural makeup of the university.
Additionally, dissent is able to instrumentalize pure emotion itself as a resource. The steel of dissent, welded together by multiple technologies of the heart and the mind, is constituted by stubbornness, resilience, and romance, speaking in the face of cultural domination.
For me, there can be no art revolution that is separate from a science revolution, a political revolution, an educational revolution, a drug revolution, a sex revolution, or a personal revolution. I can't consider a program of museums reforms without equal attention to gallery reforms, to art magazine reforms, which would all aim to eliminate stables of artists and writers. I will not call myself an art worker. No. I'm an art dreamer. And I'll participate only in a total revolution, simultaneously personal and public.